SC Thrive presentation, our Mental Health Matters presentation of Everyone Learns Differently. We'd like to tell you a little bit about our nonprofit SC Thrive. SC Thrive leads South Carolinians to stability by providing innovative and efficient access to quality of life resources. We hope that you will take a moment throughout the presentation. Feel free to enter the chat and ask questions, as we will be following up with your entries in the chat throughout our presentation. Everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. And that's a quote by Albert Einstein. According to the National Center for Learning Disabilities, 1 in 5 people in the United States have learning and attention issues such as dyslexia and ADHD. Some children receive specialized instruction or accommodations, but many do not. 48% of parents believe that their children will outgrow these brain-based difficulties. And unfortunately, 33% of educators sometimes say that it's not a learning disability, it's just laziness. These individuals are just as capable as their peers, but many struggle in school, work, and life because they fail to get the support they need. Learning disabilities are a neurologic disorder and are brain-based. Simply put, the wirings in the brain is different, not wrong. There is a bit here about learning disabilities that they are physical as well as real as diabetes and heart disease, meaning they can't really will themselves or get over it. With the right support, everybody can thrive. Learning disabilities interfere with a person's ability to store, to process, to produce information. They affect one's ability to read, write, speak, spell, compute math, and also affect one's ability to pay attention, to leave things to memory. It affects coordination, social skills, and emotional maturity. It's important for you and I to understand that learning disabilities or learning difference is not the same thing as lacking intelligence or motivation. Additionally, learning disabilities aren't the only reason a person may have difficulties learning. We've seen over the years that hearing impairment, visual impairment, speech impairment, and intellectual disability can also cause learning challenges. Because common learning differences such as a large portion of our population, it's important for everyone to stay aware and informed so we can learn to recognize them and help others maximize their potential. Learning disabilities can be lifelong conditions that affect the individual's life beyond academics, impacting one's experience at school, at work, at home, and out in the community, such as in social situations or relationships with family, friends, and coworkers. A child can develop a sense of inadequacy because their academic efforts aren't bringing the results that people think they should. In some cases, a child may internalize that feeling of failure. It's estimated 40% of children and young adults with learning disabilities struggle with problems such as anxiety, depression, or low self-esteem. A delay in identifying learning disabilities can increase the risk. Undiagnosed, a child can acquire overlays and of emotional disturbance after years of school failure. The good news is that many of these mild cases of depression and anxiety will clear when the underlying problems are learned and are addressed. Sometimes undiagnosed learning disabilities in children and youth can present as behavior or mental health problems. It's all in the interpretation of the person seeing the child. This can be classified into 2 broad categories. One is internalizing, and the second one is externalizing. Internalizing includes symptoms like withdrawal, anxiety, fearfulness, and depressed moods. Where externalizing can include aggression, defiance, disrupting a class, skipping school, rule breaking, and unfortunately destructive or self-destructive behavior. These behaviors can in turn make learning even harder. If you see these signs, it's crucial to seek a professional, objective evaluation of the cause. What can you do? If you spot any mental health issues in your child, or your teen tells you that they're having a hard time in school, check with their primary care doctor or reach out to a mental health clinician. Individuals of all ages with learning disabilities and attention deficit or ADHD are subject to ridicule from peers and are at greater risk for bullying and victimization, social isolation and rejection, alienation, or feelings of loneliness. It's estimated that 75% of kids with learning disabilities have difficulties with social relationships. Depending on the nature of their learning disabilities, it can be hard for kids to read social cues, adapt to new social situations, or regulate their emotions and behaviors in order to fit in with peers. School failure leads to disassociation from school settings. And the adolescent and teen with learning disabilities who has not received the proper academic supports and services runs a higher than average risk for becoming involved with tobacco, alcohol, and drugs. Unfortunately, we see this in our state where school dropout is linked strongly to functional illiteracy. Teens who drop out of school become high risk at being involved in illegal activities and unfortunately, even incarceration. Some become teen parents. Teen addictions, aggression, and other antisocial behaviors and risky pregnancies are therefore linked to learning disabilities and ADHD. For adults, having undiagnosed learning disabilities can affect our career choice and limit job advancement. This is particularly true when the person interprets his or her past educational failures as personal faults and experiences feelings of embarrassment and shame because of a perceived intellectual deficiency. Some adults avoid reading and writing because they doubt their abilities. This can lead them to taking jobs that are below their ability level. If you know an adult who excels at his or her job but refuses to apply for a higher position due to fear of having to complete paperwork or write reports, there may be a learning disability getting in the way. You can be their advocate. They may also say no to attending social events or gatherings that might expose any lacking literacy skills. When offering support, don't forget that many adults can interpret efforts to help them as patronizing. It's important to be transparent with the young adult, the child, or the adult. Respect their individual privacy, even if it's a family member or close friend who you may not expect to be overly sensitive about the issue. Every individual with a learning disability will experience a unique set of and severity of symptoms, which can make diagnosing a condition difficult. It's also possible for people to have more than one learning disability. Nonetheless, if a learning difficulty is suspected, it's worth getting tested. In certain cases, a diagnosis can lead to a greater quality of life for an individual. The idea that learning disabilities start when an individual enters the classroom or the office is wrong. Using money and managing their finances, reading street signs, following directions, filling out forms, and keeping a room tidy all happen outside of work or school. Learning disabilities can affect the input and output of information, a person's processing speed, organization, memory, and social skills. For some individuals, out of sight really means out of mind. Adults with undiagnosed learning disabilities often develop a repertoire of coping strategies to help them deal with their condition. You may find the person relies heavily on voice to text software, voicemails, and audio memos instead of emails and handwritten notes. It's worth uncovering the underlying cause so the person can get more information and find out which additional accommodations may make things easier for them. Many individuals with learning disabilities have a higher than average IQ. They just process information in a different way. For example, most often possess exceptional creative skills and an ability to bring together ideas from different domains. Students with a learning disability often have hidden strengths such as strong visual spatial thinking and skill in figuring out patterns, the ability to make unique associations between concepts, strength in seeing the big picture and creative problem solving. Being an original and out of box thinker can foster advanced problem solving skills and help adults with learning disabilities do well in entrepreneurial pursuits. Focus on the sea of strengths surrounding the island of weakness. When individuals see their weaknesses as islands, their challenges become more specific and manageable. Bringing those superpowers to the front of the discussion is a tool for empowering those with learning disabilities and helping others to appreciate their unique talents as well. 6 attributes of successful individuals with learning disabilities include self-awareness, proactivity, perseverance, goal setting, and the presence and use of effective support systems and emotional coping strategies. Having these attributes does not guarantee success. Rather, it increases the chances of achieving a fulfilling and successful life. Research indicates that these characteristics may have a greater influence on success than even such factors as academic achievement, gender, socioeconomic status, ethnicity, and even IQ. As parents and as friends and family, and just as mentors, we can be coaches for life. It's crucial for us to help cultivate these qualities in our children as they grow and develop. Successful individuals with learning disabilities recognize their strengths and talents along with accepting their weaknesses and limitations. They're open and specific about their difficulties and understand how these difficulties affect their lives. Successful adults with learning disabilities are able to find jobs that provide the best fit or match with their abilities. These individuals also have the ability to compartmentalize their disability. That is, they're able to see their learning difficulties as only one aspect of themselves. Although they are well aware of their limitations, they're not overly defined by that limitation. You can pick a lot of people out of this gallery of pictures. Walt Disney, Tom Cruise, Whoopi Goldberg, just to name a few. Since many people with learning disabilities are creative and unconventional, it's common for them to become movie stars, entrepreneurs, musicians, artists, or athletes. Right here in South Carolina, we saw a tremendous, at TL Hanna, we saw a tremendous testimony of an incredible man known to all of us as Radio. Successful people with learning disabilities believe they have the power to control their own destiny and affect the outcome of others and their lives. They show the ability to make decisions and act upon those decisions. Additionally, they assume responsibility for their actions and the resulting outcomes. They demonstrate creativity through self-advocacy and initiative. Successful persons with learning disabilities appear to learn from their hardships, adopting the attitude of, I've failed many times, but I'm not a failure. I've learned to succeed from my failures. Quite frankly, they believe difficult situations are necessary for learning. Successful individuals set goals that are specific yet flexible so that they can be changed to adjust to specific circumstances and situations. Individuals with learning disabilities don't work in linear fashion. Their route between here and there can be full of twists and curves. This can be frustrating to parents. It can also be frustrating to employers because these individuals don't go A, B, C, D all the way to Z. They may go A to F to L and then back to C. Conventional teaching methods or even standard expectations of life may not work for them. Their learning disabilities can help them to see the big picture and not worry about tiny details. Their knowledge doesn't always show in conventional ways, like on a written exam. Sometimes they need the opportunity to take an oral exam. It's not their knowledge being tested, but their ability to function according to traditional metrics. Success in life, rather than just school success, depends not on academics, but on things like healthy sense of self, the willingness to ask for and accept help, the determination to keep trying in spite of challenges, the ability to form healthy relationships with others, and other qualities that aren't as easy to qualify as grades and exam scores. Your job as a parent or a family member or a friend is not to cure the learning disability, but to give your child the social and emotional tools they need to work through challenges. You know, in the long run, facing and overcoming a challenge such as learning disabilities can help your child, young adult, or maybe even your spouse grow stronger and become more resilient. We're very fortunate to have with us Jill Sinclair and Kay Ware. They're from the Hope Academy. Ladies, we're very fortunate to have you today. Would you tell us a little bit about yourselves and about Hope Academy?
Hi, good morning. I'm Kay Ware, and my husband and I, along with another couple, were the founding parents of Hope Christian Academy. We opened Hope in 2007, and it's a school that is specifically for students who have a diagnosed learning disability. We have a son, our second son, who struggled in a regular classroom setting. And after him being in several different educational settings, we just thought we would give this a try. It's a very small school. This year we have 8 students enrolled, and they get a lot of individual attention. Jackson, my son who went to Hope, graduated 4 years ago, and he learned skills there, a lot of life skills as well as academic skills that have allowed him to go on to a successful job placement where he's very happy and feels a big part of our community. So we're thankful for that.
Well, I'm Jill Sinclair, and I've been the director of Hope Christian Academy for 10 years, and it has been a joy and a blessing. My experience includes all kinds of special education. I've taught in public schools, private schools. I've tutored students in public schools and private schools. My heart has always been for students that have learning disabilities. And when the founding parents of Hope approached me, I just was so excited about leading these teachers who are very talented to hook these students and to awaken them that they can make it.
We really appreciate both of you again being here. And Eva, we have some questions on the chat, I'm sure, and you also have some questions for our guests.
Thank you. The first question is, how can a parent help their child handle the stress and frustration with their diagnosis first and help them through their academics this year?
Well, I think communication is always the key, and also a positive attitude. Parents are on their child's side to make it in school, and depending on the age of the child will be the involvement that the parent has with their schools. Parents should communicate with their teachers, figuring out ways to help them at home and in the classroom. Did I answer that question?
Yes, ma'am. We have Miss Isaac in the chat, and she said, my son has epilepsy, and because of where his seizures are located, located in his brain, the doctors said he can't retain the information, but he tries so hard. Working with him during this time is very hard, and I feel like he has regressed. I try to go over something every night, and I don't know what more to do, if anything. He will be 18 next month, so what can I do, or what can I help him with upon turning 18?
Well, one of my first questions would be the support that she has, the support that you have with your son. First of all, he's a gift of God, and he has a reason for being here, and he needs a reason to get up every morning. And thinking of the support he has, is he in school? Has he been taught virtually? Is he mobile, or is he in a wheelchair? There are different levels of this disability. And can he do hands-on things? You say you work with him every night. Are there things that you're going over with him that he has been taught during the day? And I'd also wonder where he is in school. Are you homeschooling? Is he going to a school, however, he's being taught virtually right now? Are the doctors supportive? Do you have counselors that can help you know what to do? There are all kinds of resources available to help parents with special needs students.
Thank you. I will let you know if she puts anything in the chat, and we can discuss that more.
Okay.
What can a parent do in the home, non-academically, to support their child with a learning difference or disability?
So I had two children who struggled with learning disabilities, and have four children. So that could create a real challenge to help them. What I experienced as a parent is one of the most important things was to help my son come up with some consistency in the time that he did his homework, in the place that he did it. I provided an area in our house that was quiet, with few distractions, with all of the tools that he was going to need, pencils already there, paper, so that he wouldn't have to get up and search around for something. Also, longer than maybe I had to with some of my other children who didn't have a learning disability, I requested with his teachers to have communication with them. so that they would understand he had support, but he needed support from them as well. And, you know, as students get older in school, teachers want them to become independent. Of course, as his parent, I wanted him to become more independent as well. But in order for him to succeed, I had to remain involved a little bit longer than maybe I wanted to. I would say one other thing that I learned as a parent was that I had to let him suffer some consequences sometimes when maybe he forgot his homework. He had done it, but he forgot it. So then he had to stay for a detention. Of course, as a parent, you want to solve all of those problems for your children. And I would think in my mind, well, there's a reason he's forgetting his homework. But the biggest motivator for him really was suffering those consequences. He wanted to be able to get out of school when everybody else did. And so that was a bigger motivator than me going in and rescuing him from those situations.
Thank you. Miss Isaac did respond. She said, our support team is awesome. He has no disability besides epilepsy. He started having them one day in class when he was in pre-K. The doctors are trying to get his seizures under control. He has a rare type of seizures. They suggested that I let him finish out school and go to voc rehab to get the basic skills.
Well, Voc Rehab is a wonderful organization. The people there care about these young people. They tend to be overwhelmed with people contacting them, so I always advise parents to be their student's advocate. Continue to make phone calls. Voc Rehab will evaluate your son and they will give suggestions. They will figure out things that he can do. Now, of course, this is pre-COVID, but Voc Rehab has many employers that are willing to let students with special needs work there, job shadow there, and give them experience for a time to see if that would be a good fit. But I do always recommend Voc Rehab. They have lots of resources, so I would encourage this mom to do that.
Thank you. What can a parent do to make sure they are taking care of themselves so that they can better help their child, especially if the parent also has ADHD or another learning disability, for example?
Well, of course, the lifestyles of families is very important. This includes healthy eating, family meals together, regular bedtimes and adequate sleep. The TV should not serve as a babysitter or to keep them busy while you do something else. And I feel like devices should not be used all the time. And that's another whole subject. But young people this day and time have grown so dependent on gaming and devices and all that. So the health of the whole family is very important, and that includes the students that have special needs. There are lots of resources available for parents that also have learning disabilities, and families can do things like label drawers. We have a label maker at my house. You can label drawers. You can set up checklists for your family members. There are just lots of tangible things you can do.
I would add that for me personally, with my children, my own physical activity, I started running when my kids were little because that was an outlet for me. So the physical aspect really helped me. I think also as parents, we can feel guilt, and especially if you're a parent who's suffered with a learning disability, you may feel guilt that your child is going through that as well. In our family, I would say that my typical learners have expressed to me that they see some real positive and admirable traits in my children who have learning disabilities. And they stem really from the fact that nothing has come easy to them. They've had to work hard, and maybe they had that tenacity at an earlier age than my other children, I think, have come to that. But they've had to, because school came easy to them, they didn't necessarily start from that same place. So as a family, we really try to look at the challenges that our children have faced as some of the things that have helped them to become the people that they are and that have put them on the path that they've ended up on.
Thank you.
And I will also add that through our research at Hope Christian Academy, we have found that students that have special needs and are employed at different businesses, their employers have said that they do have a good work ethic, and they are their retention or their longevity really proves to be at the utmost. You know, once they are hired, they want to keep that job.
Thank you. Due to COVID, what are some ways to keep a child with learning disability engaged while they're learning virtually to make sure they don't fall behind?
This is indeed a different atmosphere for educating our young people this day and time. Our school continued to teach virtually, and I had several recommendations to the parents. I think where their location is in the house is very important. Like Kay said, she had a homework place for her students. And the virtual schooling area should be cozy, very comfortable, and distractions should be removed, like devices, iPhones. You know, you can tell when we were Zooming if the student was distracted looking at something. And pets, if pets are the kind that want to jump up in your lap and be petted, then, you know, take them to another part of the house. And be very positive about having school in your home. And then for younger children, to keep them engaged, you could offer some kind of rewards for them if they stay focused. It could be something like ice cream. Not every day, but, you know, at appropriate days. And then for older students, they could plan the menu, or they could pick where we're going to get supper out. You know, be positive, reward them for staying focused, and support the teacher. You know that it's very different for these teachers who are teaching virtually. So support them and encourage them and let them know that you want your student to make it.
Thank you. What is the difference between an IEP, and which is better known as an individual education plan, and a 504 plan?
Okay, well, the 504 plan was devised like in 1973, 1975, and it was so that all students could receive a public education, no matter what their disability, be it physical or mental. So students that have a 504 plan are entitled to be in a regular classroom with just some accommodations. If it's something like eyesight, they would be placed at the front of the class, or if reading fine print, the school would get large print books. So the 504 plan is for students to stay in their regular classrooms, but to have compensations. Now, the IEP, the individual educational plan, tends to be a little more on the academic side, although there are life skills addressed in the IEPs. They are written by the teacher for the individual student. Parents are definitely welcome to put their ideas into place, and they sign the IEPs. So IEPs are just a little more specific, and these are for students who cannot really remain in the regular classrooms to receive their instruction. They need to be in self-contained special ed classrooms or pulled out throughout the day for resource programs, and special education teachers teach these students. That's the basic difference.
What are some coping strategies for adults who may not have been diagnosed as a child, or who didn't receive proper support while they were younger?
These adults know very well what their students are going through. They have an empathy for them. Of course, being in communication with their students' teachers is very important. Now, for the parents, it could be that they're disorganized, that they have problems getting things done on time, that they forget things. Now, there are all sorts of resources out there for adults that have special needs like this. There are church groups, there are professional helpers that will help parents set up a schedule for their everyday. You just have to seek these out. And as far as just daily things, list making is wonderful. We make a lot of lists at our school because the students feel like they have accomplished something when they're able to check it off. Well, parents in the home could do that too for themselves and their students. Plan menus ahead of time, lay out clothes the night before, have lists of chores, even what the student needs to do in the bathroom, and so the biggest thing for parents is that they will know what their students are going through and how you have to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and develop self-determination that you know you can make it.
And I would add to that I think most adults who have gone undiagnosed, they should give themselves a pat on the back, because I'm pretty sure that means that they developed coping strategies, yes, probably innately. I know my son who struggled with ADHD, he ended up in the Army. He enlisted, and he and I were talking this week, and he was just discussing how that structure really makes the difference for him. He's succeeding and in fact excelling where he is, and I think he placed himself in a situation to have a good outcome. So take again that learning disability and make it a positive in your life, and recognize the ways that you've accomplished despite that.
Thank you. I have one last question. Should an adult with a learning disability share with their employer that they have a learning disability or a learning difference?
We, with our older students, hopefully as the students mature in age, they have taken on a self-determination, and along with that goes self-advocacy. And I always encourage the students to practice job interviewing, fill out job applications ahead of time, just random ones to get used to it. And when it comes to a student having a learning disability, there are times when a student should tell their employer that they have a learning difference, and that it could be that things need to be explained to them in a different way. If they have a choice in, if they get a job in a furniture business, maybe one does not communicate as well with the public, so that person may do better at organizing, decorating the showrooms. You know, you just, and so this person would self-advocate and tell why he or she would request that kind of job. Now, there are many professionals, y'all showed the screen a while ago about all those famous people in all walks of life that have made it. And that's the self-determination, that they believe that they can conquer this disability. I thought the analogy of the sea with the islands being the little disabilities that you have to capture, you have to conquer. That was a great analogy. And parents from the get-go need to tell the students that they are gifted and they have wonderful possibilities and potential, and just support them all the way up.
Thank you. George?
Kay and Jill, we can't thank you enough for being part of our discussion today, our presentation. We have an incredible team here that puts together Mental Health Matters, again, twice a month. We hope that you all will join us the second Thursday of September at 11:30. We will be providing an incredible talk on spouses of public safety employees, and what it means to be a spouse of someone that's involved in public safety. So we hope that you will take a moment to recognize our sponsors here at SC Thrive. We also want you to know that all of this information will be on our website. A recording of today will be on our website. You are welcome to share that with anyone that you wish. The other thing is the resources that Kay and Jill talked about will also be available on our website. There's some things that have happened since August 1st. Initially, the housing funding for people that were having trouble with paying their rent some of the classifications and criteria has changed since August 1st. So you may have been denied or not qualified for assistance prior to August 1st. If you know of someone, or if you yourself are having trouble paying your rent or your housing, you can call our toll-free number, and we can help you see if you can meet the new criteria. The other piece is we hope that you'll reach out to us at our contact center at the 800-726-8774 number anytime for us to get people help, whether it be with Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, even today, getting ready to vote in this year's election. We can help you with that. And we also have other opportunities as well. Again, thank you for being with us. Thank you, Kay and Jill, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.